You're watching TelecomTV from the Red Hat NFV event in Barcelona. And I'm joined now by Manish Singh, who is VP Product Management, NFV and SDN at Mahindra. Manish, good to see you on TelecomTV again. When we've been talking with leading telcos who are active in developing and deploying NFV, it appears that it's not as easy as we might have originally thought. There are a lot of complexities involved, from onboarding VNFs to looking at the balance of cloud native to legacy. Is this the reality, that NFV, network transformation, is a complex undertaking?
Yeah, I think two parts to that. First of all, if you look from a overall transformation journey, I think we initiated the industry with the formation of SIG a few years back, and then we went into ideation, where we're doing a number of proof of concepts. There's been a lot of catalyst work going on in TM Forum, etc. But we are almost stuck in ideation, right? And so the question is, how do we go from there and cross the chasm and really get to implementations at scale? And first, I'd say, I think the service providers realize that it is critical for them to transform the infrastructure. So I think that piece is very clear. Now the question is how. And as I said, I mean, to cross that, it requires new kinds of skills. It's a different realm where we are really looking inside a box and deconstructing that. And I think the industry as a whole has been currently focused on maturing each of the components that go into making the full solution. As you know, I mean, there are gaps right now on management and orchestration, but even, I mean, if you look at VNFs or you look at the infrastructure layer, they're still going through that maturity cycle. I expect that, once this transform, which I think by the time we end this year, I think next year we'll start to see a lot more integration work happening, and a lot of these things will be weeded out.
We're also hearing that onboarding VNFs is a time-consuming process at the moment. It can take weeks or even months sometimes, especially for legacy functions. Is this an interim stage? Will we eventually overcome these difficulties?
Yeah, I think that there are two parts to that, right? So one is when, the moment we say legacy VNFs, I think it really first of all brings up the question, what's the business case? Because if you're a VNF vendor, you start to wonder, what's the business case? What's the what's the total market that's available and how long? And for that matter, even if you're a service provider, you start to think, how much do I really want to go invest? I mean, I'll take AT&T's publicly quoted number of, even for AT&T, they say 75% of the network by 2020, right? So I think there's that question of how much you really want to go into that. That's one. Second thing, from a technical perspective, see, a lot of these legacy VNFs were never designed to work on a NFVI infrastructure. They're not cloud native. So how do you take those VNFs and do you just port them, migrate them? Is there enough business case out there? And then the bigger question, do you really go and deconstruct them and make them cloud native? And is there a big enough business case to do that? I.e., the broader point, how big an undertaking a VNF vendor wants to take, how big an undertaking a service provider wants to take, and where the answer lies. I mean, is it probably better to just leave some of those legacy VNFs as PNF and focus on where the bulk of the future network is going to be? I think that needs to get decided, and I think it's the business case that really determines the answer to that.
So how can we as an industry make it easier for telcos?
So one of the things we, from a Mahindra perspective, we are focused on bringing scale and speed to this overall network transformation. Because as I said, we see this stuck in ideation, we see how do we get these service providers to cross the chasm, and that really requires a whole new set of skills. I mean, skills that will that get them to a point where they feel comfortable with leveraging open source, open innovation. They feel leveraging really VNFs coming in from different vendors, management orchestration, and being able to integrate and operationalize all of that, right? So that requires a new kind of skill. That's where our focus is. How do we bring those skills, and we bring those skills at a global scale? Because for me, when I look at service providers, there are clearly a handful of service providers, the visionaries, who are driving the roadmap. But then there's a mass market behind them, the tier 2 service providers, and even in certain geographies, I would say tier 1 service providers who need that help. That's where we as Mahindra are gearing up to really bring that skills at a global scale and speed up this overall transformation.
So how does Tech Mahindra partner and collaborate with Red Hat on NFV development?
So for us, when we think of Red Hat, they're a very strategic partner of our ecosystem. And when we think of this network transformation from a Tech Mahindra perspective, I'd say, and to quote Winston Churchill, the only thing that is worse to go to a war with allies is going to a war without them. And that's how we see the partner ecosystem. They're absolutely at the very core of our strategy. And Red Hat, from an NFVI perspective, is a very strategic partner for Tech Mahindra.
Manish, thank you very much indeed.